And secondly, on some more promising news, I know Mr. Lund, ahead of the school board meeting tonight, had a brief update on the CTE Center and a pretty good story. So if you want to take the dais now, please.
Thank you, Mayor Brzezinski, members of the council. It's a real pleasure to be here this evening. I'm happy to report that 3 political subdivisions, city, county, and the school district, 2 civic organizations, the Economic Development Corporation and Chamber, 2 foundations, 4 individuals, and more than 60 businesses have all come together, and we have achieved our $10 million fundraising goal and have raised nearly $10.2 million as of the time that I left for the meeting today. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm happy to report that to you today. I took a little moment to reflect and to celebrate, that accomplishment, and really how fortunate we are to live in a community where those organizations can rally around a cause. I want to talk about, if I could, Mayor, I know you have an agenda here today, but there's a lot of work that went into that before the requests were made. We needed political support, so I appreciate the support of this body and you, Mayor, in particular. And Todd, you were a big help as well in terms of fundraising. Mayor, you brought in our first check today. Actually, we have nearly $10.2 million worth of commitments. You brought in the first check with the Lumber Mart when you went over to visit with Bob Peabody earlier today, so appreciate all your support, and you've been a big support. So we needed that political support, we needed a site, and you provided that for us, programming and building design. You can't ask a business for an investment until you can tell them what's in it for them, so all that work needed to be done before we sat across the table and asked for that. I put a brochure of the Impact Academy on your desk, and I wanted to just draw attention to page 8. Tremendous support and volunteers. We have the steering committee, and many of you and many in this room are on it. In addition, there are almost 50 volunteers that have dedicated over 1,500 hours to this project, so it's been really rewarding. At the fear of just calling out a couple of people, because there are so many that I could recognize, I really want to acknowledge 2 people that really drove this on the ground. I guess I've had the pleasure to come up here and talk about fundraising. That was my piece of it, but as I mentioned, a lot of work had to go into this before we could sit across the table and ask somebody for anything. So the people that really drove this were Eric Ripley, the Director of Current Technical Education from Grand Forks Public Schools. So he ran the education side of things, and Becca Kruger, who's in the audience tonight, and I want to personally thank and congratulate her. She really organized this tremendous campaign and initiative from our standpoint, from the business side of things. So it's really fantastic. As I mentioned, all that work was done before we sat across from the company. And speaking of that, we had our first conversation. We made our first request on September 13th. Today is day 70 from that marker. So we raised the team raised nearly $10.2 million in less than 2.5 months. So it's really rewarding. So I really couldn't be prouder of the steering committee and all the volunteers that came together. Couldn't be prouder of all the companies that have invested, and I really couldn't be prouder to be living in this region than I am today. So thank you for the opportunity to provide the update, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And I think it goes without saying that we appreciate the work that you have done yourself on this without taking charge and getting all those groups together. This wasn't going to happen. This speaks to the relationships with the business community, the political subdivisions, and everybody in town. So thank you.